evening, ladies and gentlemen. Imagine this scenario. You know a woman who's worked the same job with the same men for the same amount of time, 40 hours a week, 52 weeks a year, yet she makes significantly less money than he does, leaving her to feel unappreciated and more likely to struggle to make ends meet. More than likely, you know a woman who has faced discrimination based solely off of her gender. I am a waitress. Throughout my career, many times I have had people say to me, "Why are you not at home with your babies?" Or "Why are you not at home cooking dinner for your family?" Pushing me into the stereotype that women belong only in the home. The concept of feminism is derived from principles to include liberalism, Marxism, and lastly, radicalism. Today I will speak to you about the following three main points. The principles stress the individual's ability to change discrimination policies against women, the ways in which women are economically oppressed, and eliminating the men's world mentality in all social and economic situations. Let's begin with the idea of liberal feminism. The first principle of feminism is liberal, which focuses on the individual's power to change discrimination against women. It is to loosen the grip on domestic roles and understanding that men and women alike deserve equal rights and respect. In Eric Horner's Give Me Liberty, he discusses the Feminist Alliance, which in the early 1900s was responsible for constructing apartment houses with communal kitchens, cafeterias, and daycare centers to free women from the constraints of the home. This went against the idea that women were meant to be isolated in the home taking care of their children. This was also the start of women leaving the domestic roles at home and getting jobs to help provide for their family, which began the birth control movement. Birth control came about so that women got the choice of whether and when they wanted a baby in order to keep their job. In 2016, birth control is discussed in everyday life all the way up to the political level. The Feminist Majority Foundation continues to fight for women's rights to safe, effective, affordable, and accessible birth control. Another aspect applies to extending rights that men have to women. Education has not always been a right that is afforded to women. It became a change in the middle class status because women were no longer dependents of their fathers and husbands. It also went against the idea that women were supposed to provide unpaid labor at home. Estelle Friedman explains in No Turning Back, The History of Feminism and the Future of Women, that, and I quote, "Education would provide middle-class women with an initial wedge into the public sphere from which they launched movements for equal and political rights." Education proved to be a worthy asset in the rise of the feminist movement. Basically, liberal feminism says that men and women get to choose what we believe is right for us. Now that we've looked into the most basic of the principles, let's move to the Marxist principle. The second principle of feminism is the Marxist, which focuses on the ways women are oppressed through economic practices. In 1917, more than 2 million women became members of the National American Suffrage Association. 3 years later, in 1920, the 19th Amendment became a major stepping stone as it was the passage of women's right to vote, which was also known as the first wave. The second wave took place in the late 1960s, early 70s. As stated by the Stafford Encyclopedia of Philosophy, it pushed beyond the early quest for political rights to fight for gender equality across the board, for example, in education, the workplace, and at home. Women can hold the same job as a man for the same amount of time and still be paid way less. It is an uphill battle in the workplace because they believe women are the caregivers over the fathers. The National Committee on Pay Equity states that current research continues to find the evidence of motherhood penalty for women and a marriage premium for men. Women are paid about 80 cents for every $1 that a man makes. To put this into perspective, say a man makes $15 per hour. That means a woman is making $12 per hour. Calculate that to 40 hours per week for 52 weeks. A man is making about $31,200, while a woman is only bringing home $24,960, a major difference. The National Committee on Pay Equity also quotes that when it comes to hiring and promotions, concerns that women will spend more time away from the office or will somehow underperform can create a labor market in which it is difficult for women to achieve the most advanced and highly paid positions. Moving on from Marxism, let's take a look at the radical principle. The third principle of feminism is radical, which focuses on eliminating male supremacy in all social and economic situations. Basically, this is the extreme form of feminism. In Jessica Valenti's book titled Full Frontal Feminism, A Young Woman's Guide to Feminism and Why It Matters, best describes the radical principle of feminism. In her chapter titled Real Women Have Babies, she quotes, "Whether it is repro rights, violence against women, or plain old vanilla sexism, most issues affecting women have one thing in common. They exist to keep women in their place." This is the group that you sometimes hear as the man haters. They take everything to the extreme, especially the political aspects. Radicalism and feminism leads towards the biological portrayal of masculinity and femininity. Women can do anything, they believe women can do anything that a man can do. And on February 2nd of this year, the Army, Navy, and Marine Corps decided to integrate women into combat roles. This was a very big deal. It made many men and women mad because they believe that if a man is injured on the battlefield, a woman cannot carry him to safety. To date, only 12 women have completed the infantry-style training. There are more principles, but these are the 3 easiest to explain. To sum up, feminism is more so belief that women deserve equality, human rights, and freedom from discrimination in all aspects of life. The liberal and Marxist principles are easily the most accurate portrayal of what feminism is today, dealing with the individual's power that the people hold to make a difference, not only domestic roles for women, but in social and economic contexts. The radical principle of feminism is a bit more extreme, but we do see it from time to time when women will fight for their rights no matter what it takes. I don't think that feminists should be painted in a black light whatsoever. I think that people tend to run for cover when a woman decides that she wants to talk about her views. But I think the most important part to take from this speech is that think about a special woman in your lives. You have a mother, your daughter, sister, wife, grandma. Remember that they deserve women's rights, because after all, women's rights are human rights.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
7:45.
Score!
Oh, I know.
Every time.
I should have, that would be great to show.